Good morning, everybody. So it's Thursday morning, July 5th. I'm trying to get these things done in the morning so I can get on with my day. And a lot of folks have said they really enjoy listening to my thoughts on the way to work or things like that. So give them something to do. And as I hit the road, I think I'm going to try to, kind of give my updates in the morning before I head out for the day and my thoughts and where I'm heading. And then at nighttime, where I'll recap the night before and the nice folks, hopefully, that I've met and that have been kind enough to allow me to get to meet them and learn about them and make them part of my story, my journey, my book. I've been talking a lot about me leading up to this point, and while today really is going to be about me, it's my last big topic that I feel is important for me to get what I feel out there a little bit, or what I'm hoping to accomplish on this journey. And this one may also go a little bit long, and then I promise in the next few days will be quicker hit and run. So today, I want to touch on something that I hope folks listen all the way through. So many people want to hear something that they disagree with, and they get up in arms and already think about how they want to troll me or what they want to say versus hearing everything I say. And we do that a lot in life in general. We're already figuring out what we want to rebut before we actually hear the entire message. And that kind of goes into what I'm talking about. So one of the things, my big problem with society these days is, I'll use the term judging, okay? So many people, we judge others, and quite frankly, it's just unfair. If you really want to know something or somebody, get to know something or somebody, don't pass judgment on something you don't know. Part of my journey is I want to get to a few places, if you've heard me talk about, I want to get to Ferguson, Missouri, where there was some race riots a couple of years ago. I don't want to pass judgment from the outside looking in. I want to get involved with the community and hear both sides of things. But, we have a problem in this country of racism, sometimes perceived racism, sometimes false racism. And I just have a little bit of a different take on the way a lot of folks want to judge or quickly put something under this umbrella, okay? I have a theory that says we could go a long way, not to reducing racism, which, please hear me out right away. I am by no means trying to claim that this doesn't exist in this country. I don't think it's what it was 50 years ago, and I don't think it's what it was 30 years ago. But by no means am I trying to minimize and say that not just, I should say just racism, but all of a sudden I got a vapor lock about the word I'm looking for, but bigotry and condemnation of other people's beliefs and lifestyles and everything else exists in this country. But the thing that comes back, I would challenge each and every one of you, before you talk about race in a situation, that you talk about socioeconomic levels. And what I mean by that is, imagine you're talking about a crime of some sort, and inevitably in any crime it comes up that you're talking about whether it's a white on black, a black on black, a white on white, an immigrant versus whatever. Talk about their socioeconomic level, okay? What if you turn around and said there was a poor on poor crime yesterday? There was a upper class, or not upper class, but a middle class versus a middle class crime yesterday. And I know that sounds kind of hokey and kind of silly that you would even think about that, but before you even talk about it, think about that for a moment. So this is just me. I've done zero research on this to give statistics, and don't claim to know them. But it'd be my guess that 90%, 80 to 90% of violent crime doesn't occur from one race to another, one gender to another. It comes from poor on poor, okay? And when you think about that for a minute, one of the great things about my last job, or the job I'm still on for a few more days, that I got to experience, I'll share 2 or 3 things with you, and this goes back to being a parent and trying to expose your kids to as much as possible. So last Christmas time, I was able to be part of something which was really special to me, and I was able to tell my kids about it. But I was with a company that donated beds to needy families. And, you know, to each and every one of us listening to this, I would virtually guarantee you that everyone listening to this goes home at night into a warm bed that we make or don't make, and it's ours, and we feel comfortable with it, and we don't for a second ever think about, hey, what a privilege or joy this is. So the two stories that stick out from this particular Christmas holiday giveaway was we were bringing in mattresses and box springs to needy families and kids. And we went to one family's home, and the bed that the child was sleeping on was literally a wooden pallet. And if you're familiar with wooden pallets, they just have wood slats, and we put product on them and ship them all across the country. It was a wooden pallet with a blanket down as kind of cushion and a blanket over top. And I look at that, and I go home that night to my home, and I get my kids upset because, you know, I didn't order the right movie on on demand, or they might not have got the video game they wanted. And here are these children sleeping on a wooden pallet, for crying out loud. And your heart wants to break, and you want to put your arms around them and tell them everything's going to be fine. But this isn't the exception. In the poorer communities, you know, people do what they have to do to survive. The other one that struck me on this particular day was a young man that was so excited to have his mattress in bed, and his quote was, "I have to sleep in the hamper in dirty clothes to stay warm." What? Think about that for a minute, right? I mean, this is what life in our country is right now. I'm not here to say why and how and point the finger. I'm just saying, in that moment, there's nothing I want to do but make these kids' life better. And that goes back to what I'm talking about. To me, there's three kind of groups of people in our country. Okay, there's the upper class folks, right? The people that have wealth and have attained it, and they tend to hang around with like-minded folks, and I call them the gated community people. And the gated community people, they have get-togethers, and their get-togethers are involved in what private schools they're sending their kids to, and you know, what IPOs are coming out that month, and how they're going to invest in their portfolio, and you know, what the market did that week, and that's part of their makeup and why they've been successful in being able to attain the wealth. I don't begrudge them, and that's just the reality. You got another group of people, which is the larger portion of our society, which is, you know, middle class. You got upper and lower middle class, but you got this middle class, and the vast majority, and this is kind of where I fit into things, you know, is you know, we live our lives 2 weeks at a time. You know, I wish I could tell you my plan for the next 5 years, but really, my next paycheck I know is going to go to pay this bill, that bill, that bill. Maybe if I have a little bit left disposable, I can treat my kids to this or that, or put away for this vacation, and you know, try to stay law-abiding, and try to stay loving, and try to stay you know, within the parameters of what society has set forth as proper behavior. And you know, that's what middle class is, and we're concerned about paying our bills and our next vacation, and just doing the best we can, you know, surviving. I think that's the term I use a lot. We're so busy surviving that we don't get time to live and teach and appreciate. And this is where I talk about how we are really heroes to that circle of 8 or 10 people, our family and our few close friends we die for, but we just kind of become so indifferent to everybody else. And then there's the lower class folks, or the lower economic folks, and think about that for a minute. So there you have in the lower income demographic, you have a lot of amazing people. You've got people that work 2-3 jobs to survive, right? And there's a lot of honor, and there's a lot of faith in God. There's a lot of great people. But imagine for a moment that you're a young kid. You're 8, you're 9, you're 10, and you live in an inner city somewhere, and You're watching your mom or your dad work 2, 3 jobs to survive, and still, despite that, um, your electric is being threatened to get shut off, and you go into a school where you see other kids wearing brand new clothes, and you haven't seen a piece of brand new clothing your entire life, and this is the life you don't know anything different. This is what you grow up with, and then around the corner comes somebody that grew up in your neighborhood, and they roll up with a new car, and they're flashing some money, and they're involved in something less than legal. Let's just say, for the sake of this argument, it's drugs. And that 8 or 9-year-old, the 10-year-old sees this for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. And then when they get a little bit older, they see the grind their parents are going through, and they see what the neighborhood dealer has become and made of himself. And yeah, he's running the risk of going to prison. But to that 13, 14-year-old impressionable kid, why wouldn't he look at that with some degree of, maybe it's worth it? Now, luckily and fortunately, there's a lot of strong parents, even if they're single parents out there, that keep their kids on the straight and narrow. But it's funny, because when that kid turns to doing something that is illegal, let's say, just say dealing drugs, the middle class and those upper class folks are so quick to pass judgment and condemn people. And I'm not saying they should applaud them. I'm not saying they should justify what this person's doing. But how many people have ever been in that kid's shoes for a moment? How many of those people have ever been in that kid's shoes? There's an old movie back in the day, one of my favorite movies, called Trading Places. And it's essentially that. They take a very poor person and they make him wealthy. And you see how his character changes or forms. They take a very wealthy person, they make them poor, and all of a sudden they have a different perspective on things. And again, my point in telling you all of this stuff here isn't to condemn somebody that's doing something illegal just because they are. It isn't certainly to applaud them. But again, just give perspective, just give some understanding before you judge. Everybody wants to judge everybody. Mind your damn business and worry about yourself and what you control. Okay? We judge these folks, and it's absurd to me. You even have it in sports. Let's take a look at one of my favorite sports, baseball. And you've got these people that have used steroids and PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, to become better players. Now, I always laugh because they say they're banned in sports. Well, to the best of my knowledge, they're banned and they're illegal in the country. So to me, forget about being suspended from sports. It's a criminal activity. But yet, what is the risk reward? And then how do people handle themselves thereafter, right? You take a player that's toiling in the minor leagues and may face a career of something that they dream of, making $35,000 or $40,000 a year. And if they can just get those extra 2 hits a week, if they just hit those extra 2 home runs a month, they have a chance to set their family and themselves, and even their ego, I know ego drives a lot of it, up for life. How many of you sitting in those chairs right now listening with your moral highbrow want to condemn these ball players for doing what they did and have never experienced that situation? And again, I'm not saying that they're right for turning the PEDs, but I'll use a player that there's a way, once these things happen too, another way is how you handle it goes a long way. So going back to the baseball illustration, you got a guy named Jason Giambi, who was a top player for a long time and was one of the first guys to get busted with the PEDs. Well, he got busted, and he signed a contract back in the day of something like $125, $140 million contract. Well, he did that based upon his performance, and his performance was enhanced because he used performance-enhancing drugs. But once he got that contract, guys, his family got taken care of, and